All right, guys, here we go. More USMNT transfer news. Lots talking. The sagas drag on. Lots to talk about. I meant Tyler Adams, Folarin Balogun, and Sergino Dest. Those are the big three. Okay, the big three sagas of the summer that won't effing end. Got something in my teeth. Excuse me. Apologize for this, but I hate that. So, sucks, guys. I want some resolution to these three transfers because it's been going on for 2.5, 3 months. All three of them. Oh, maybe here. Oh, maybe not. What about the fee? Not big enough. Are they going to release his contract? This is why in the past, and I've made an exception this summer, this is why I've been reluctant to talk about transfer rumors, because they're mostly frustrating transfer rumors. Until they're pretty much over the line, they're frustrating to talk about because, all of a sudden, some new wrinkle means it's not going to happen, and now we're back to ground zero again. So that's kind of the situation, which is why, generally speaking, I don't like talking about transfer rumors. But speaking of things to talk about, there's some other stuff to talk about. This is my first video since the drama. You guys, as you have probably noticed by now, I've had to delete about 150 videos. And the reason for that is anybody who watched Tack's stream, one day, completely out of the blue, with zero warning, zero information, completely arbitrarily, YouTube just deleted his channel. And in the frenzy of us trying to figure out what happened, they weren't giving us any information. So we were working on it. And we didn't know for sure what it was, but we suspected it might be because of the BetOnline, gambling sponsor, which, as we know, they're not big fans of. We don't know that. We didn't know which gambling sponsors are allowed, which ones are not. YouTube is very arbitrary, and their policies are already always changing. So, I made a judgment call at the time to say it's not worth both of us losing our channels over it. So it'd be better to delete certain videos and start from scratch rather than lose my channel altogether. Thankfully, YouTube gave Tack his channel back. We'll see how long that lasts. But I want to say it's a little sad to me and a little bit annoying that YouTube can be so arbitrary with their punitive actions. And not real clear always why they're taking certain actions. So it is what it is, but I'm going to be looking into some solutions in the future. One of them being to probably have you guys go and follow me on other accounts, maybe not other channels just yet, although a second channel is something I'm considering, maybe something to cover European soccer, but also have, a backup in case YouTube decides to do something arbitrary. I don't know, right? So, or to go follow me on my other Twitter accounts, my personal Instagram account, things like that, just so that if something happens to this channel, you guys still have ways to find me. Because if there's anything that we've learned, and not just YouTube, Twitter as well, like Macwell just got his channel banned for almost no reason on Twitter. So it's risky. Social media, any of these, platforms, they're risky because they're very, very bizarre in the way they interact with the public. So that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to say any more and get myself in even more trouble with the powers that be. Hey, look, we've got a platform for people to come and talk about their ideas or thoughts. Hey, don't say something we disagree with, though. Anyways, so something I'll be considering in the future. But we're not here to talk about me. I am back, hopefully back regularly again, 2-3 videos or streams every week. Quick sip of water. Oh, yeah. I also need your guys' help with some accountability. I'm trying to quit vaping because, as many people have mentioned in the chat, it's not good for you. And I haven't vaped now for a week, partially because I was sick for a while. I had, a bad cold and cough that led to laryngitis. But also, now that I'm better, I feel like vaping again. Like that urge is back. So the reason I'm telling you this is so that you guys can keep me accountable. If you see me vaping on stream, be like, what the fuck? The fact that I've told you makes it easier for me to hold myself accountable. It's not easy. The worst part, anybody who's quit nicotine, the worst part about it is the rage. Like you just find yourself getting angry about stuff that you would normally not be angry about, or being overly angry about things you wouldn't normally get angry about. You know, it's weird. It's wild. And I have to keep it in mind, especially, you know, with my girlfriend, because you can't just get mad at her for no reason. But like the other day, we'll talk about Andonovski. Andonovski resigned from the USWNT. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I hope the US, you know, Berhalter doesn't hire him with the men's team. And that thought made me so irrationally angry inside, you know, like unhinged angry, you know. And I was like, I could observe it. I wasn't angry enough that I was observing it, and I was going, that's not normal. And then it hit me. It's like, oh, it's the vaping. It's the nicotine withdrawal. It's really, it just makes you overly angry about things that you shouldn't be overly angry about. Although, to be fair, we should all be angry if Vlatko Andonovski gets a job with the first team. And we are going to talk about that a little bit. But that's where we're at right now. The channel is back. Thank you for understanding and for putting up with my absence. I couldn't really say anything because we were trying to wait for the situation with TAC to get resolved before we made an official statement. So that's why I couldn't really say a whole lot. And then this week I wanted to come back, but I was sick. I lost my voice. I had laryngitis. Now I'm still back. So here we are. Every time you vape, Aaron Long gets another call up. Think of that. Thank you, S27. Appreciate it. That would definitely help. Unfortunately, he may be called up regardless. Roster video dropping next week, predicting this September roster. But so also the other news is obviously we don't have a sponsor now. And maybe there will be a sponsor in the future. But as of right now, I don't have a sponsor. So if anybody here runs a company that's looking to sponsor and is looking for the demographic of young American males, ages, 18 to 45 with disposable income, this channel will be the place to do it, yo. So talk to your marketing people. All right. Folarin Balogun to Fulham. Now, the Balogun saga has been going on for so damn long, I'm almost tired of even discussing it. But according to Fulham Fan News, and this is coming from, other sources as well, Fulham are considering a move for Arsenal's 50 million euro rated striker, Folarin Balogun, as they prepare to sell Alexander Mitrovic to Al Hilal. Now, here's my take. I'm not sure Fulham's the best move, to be honest, but it would be better than staying at Arsenal. I would maybe prefer Serie A for him, but it doesn't look like Inter Milan is going to work because Arsenal priced him out of that move. And, Arsenal wanted 50 million. I don't think one good season in France is worth 50 million. I also don't think that everybody knows this is a distressed asset. And by distressed asset, I mean, they know Arsenal's not trying to keep him, right? When you're negotiating, you can't negotiate from a position of weakness. If Balogun was in their plans and they plan to keep him for the season and then you come and offer something, then maybe you could say 50 million, we want to keep it. But because everybody knows they're trying to get rid of him, to let him go, that he's not in their plans, you don't get to then quote 50 mil for him because you're pricing people out of a move. So I think this is partially on Arsenal. Now, it looks like, from what I've read, they're going to try to come down to 45, but Fulham's evaluation is 35. So it'll be interesting to see how this resolves itself, right? Now, Ash is bringing up a good point. Højlund went for 80 after like half a season. Yeah, but just because Manchester United likes to overpay for everybody and their dog, that shouldn't change the valuation of Balogun. That's just my opinion. So we'll see what happens with Balogun, but this has been dragging on too long. The guy's not playing soccer, even though the season has already started. And I think that's what's really annoying to me, is like the guy just wants to play. We've got September camp coming up, and this is just going way too far. Like, I mean, it's dragging on for too long. My guess is probably going to see this happen on deadline day. It's going to happen on deadline day because that's how these things go, especially with a stubborn club like Arsenal. So we'll see what happens here. Our boy Sergino Dest, to PSV Eindhoven, could be moving to PSV. Why? Well, Barcelona doesn't want him. Nobody else really wants to pay a lot of money for him, so it could be a loan with an option to buy. So maybe Barcelona's thinking, look, if we cancel his contract, we get zero money. But if he goes to PSV and happens to recover his form and show well, then we might get 10 or 15 million next summer, right? Now, a lot of people are excited about this move of Dest to PSV, and I understand it because you've got Tillman and Pepe there already. And so it's like, okay, now we can focus on these three guys. One game, we cover three boys. I like it too. But let's be honest, this is a big drop-off from Milan or Barcelona, and he has nobody to blame but himself. So my concern with Dest is it doesn't really matter where he goes as much as it matters how he plays when he gets there. Like, by the way, PSV have options at right back and left back. And there's no guarantee Dest is going to go there and start. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But wherever Dest goes, he needs to bring his USMNT form with him because his club form and his demeanor and attitude and actions over the last 2 years have put people off of him to the point that Barcelona can't even get a few million for him. Like, that's not he's had some defensive lapses that we think we can clean up. That's people don't think he's a serious professional. And that's worrying. And we all know Sergino Dest is a bit of a strange dude, right? Just everything about him. He's a bit of a strange dude. Talented as hell. And when he's focused, he can be an amazing contributor to any team that he's on. We've seen that with the US. But his lack of serious training, his lack of focus, his lack of professionalism, his lack of drive and ambition. He did a interview a few days back that kind of pissed me off. I don't know exactly where it is. But in it, he says, they're talking about his time at Milan and Barcelona, and he said something along the lines of, of course, I've accomplished a lot being at clubs like Milan and Barcelona, but I still think there's a lot more to accomplish. And I was like, you haven't accomplished jack shit. Pardon my language. You were ousted from Barcelona because you weren't good enough, which is fine. Okay, not everybody makes it at Barcelona. It's not an easy place to go. To go to Milan and to go there at a time when their first choice right back was injured, get some opportunities and be so bad that you were dropped from the roster completely, then to get another opportunity with Barca in preseason and stink up the joint, that's on you. That's on you. Like, he really hasn't accomplished much from his club career. From his national team career, that's what we love about Serge, right? He shows up for the U.S. Outside of that one goal against the Netherlands, his performances for the U.S. have generally been very, very good, right? Even in the World Cup. But he needs to bring that form to whatever club he plays at. Because, by the way, let's take a look at the competition at fullback over here in PSV. They have Jordan Tete, who's currently their right back. Okay? Teze. Jordan Teze is 23 years old. He has 3 caps for the Netherlands. He just got an assist in midweek for them in their Champions League game against Sturm Graz. He's been playing very well for them to start the season off. He's the same age as Dest. He got 3 caps for the Netherlands last June in the Nations League. That's a quality right back. Quality right back there. So it's not like Dest is going to walk in and start at right back necessarily. He's going to have to fight for it. Okay? Then on the left back, they have Patrick van Aanholt, who's been a Netherlands international for a long time. And yes, he's aging now, but he's still a solid left back for them. Now, I'm concerned that if you look at Frederick Uppegaard and Mauro Jr., their other two backup left backs, they're injured. So I'm worried that PSV might be bringing him in as depth for both left back and right back and not see him as a starter. And to be honest, can you blame them? Like, I can't. I haven't seen Dest perform well enough for club to justify knocking either Van Aanholt or Teze out of the starting lineup. But Dest will have an opportunity if he goes there. If he goes there, he'll have an opportunity to show with his talent and his focus and his professionalism that he can get back to the guy that we know he can be, the guy that we've seen play for the USMNT. Because if he doesn't, this is his last chance. I mean, he's got, if it doesn't work out at PSV, it's probably MLS for Dest. Okay, so he'll end up having to go to a not serious league. And who knows, maybe even in MLS he won't be serious. I imagine if he comes to MLS, he'll think that's beneath him, and then he won't train hard, and who knows what will happen. But this is last chance saloon for Sergino Dest in terms of having a good European career, if this ends up happening. Now, somebody's brought up here, and they have a good point. Aaron Long with a very rare W here. Dest should go to Feyenoord. They are selling Peterson, the starting right back. Yeah, I saw that this morning. Looks like he's gone, which means Feyenoord, the current Eredivisie champions, are going to need a right back. So maybe Feyenoord's a better destination for him. But to be honest, it doesn't matter as much to me because I think he's good enough to be better than Jordan Teze. He's got enough talent to be better than Teze. It's about up here. It's not about his talent. It's all up here for Serge. And it's up to Serge now. So we'll see what happens. All right. Tyler Adams trapped at Leeds. So according to Phil Hay yesterday, there was all these rumors. Oh, Adams to Chelsea, Adams to Liverpool, Adams to Brighton, Adams to Villa, Adams to Bournemouth. And Bournemouth was the one that I thought would have been a good level because A, they lost their 6, ended up going to Crystal Palace. They needed a good 6. They are a realistic enough level that Adams can start for them. But they're not I don't think they're going to be a relegation candidate this season. Maybe 10 to 15, which I think is Adams' level, 10 to 15 in the Premier League. And they're a club on the up and up. They've purchased quite well this summer. Their transfers have been quite good. I liked that for Tyler. But now Phil Hay says, without him saying as much categorically, Farke, Leeds' new coach, Daniel Farke, gave a pretty strong hint that the release clause have now expired. Tyler Adams has been at Thorpe Arch today. Bournemouth interest doesn't seem to have developed. Then today, according to LUFC MOT, which is a pretty reliable source for the most part, Bournemouth midfielder, let me just make this bigger. Bournemouth believe they met Tyler Adams' release clause on Monday by making a £20 million bid. When Bournemouth bid on Monday, the release clause was still in place. Leeds maintained that the clause was not triggered and that it has since expired. So there seems to be some dispute between Leeds and Bournemouth about what actually happened. Did they submit an official bid or was it a verbal bid? If you don't have an official bid submitted, it's going to be very hard to convince the Court of Arbitration for Sport that Leeds is screwing you over. If they just called them and said, sure, we'll pay $20 million, sent him over for a medical, but they didn't submit an official bid and they have no proof, then that's on Bournemouth. Either way, I hope they can resolve this because I don't want Tyler Adams being in the championship for another year. And I know there are some people that disagree. Tack and I don't agree on this, for example. Other people who think he should be at Leeds. I don't think our captain or one of our captains and best defensive midfielder should be staying in the championship for the same reason we don't want players playing in MLS. For the same reason that we want players to push themselves and leave MLS and go to Europe, I think we need to apply that same standard to Tyler Adams. Being in the championship is not good for him. He's better than the championship. And this idea of, oh, Daniel Farke plays an attacking version of soccer and therefore he will learn to be better on the ball. Tyler Adams is 24 years old or 23. You aren't going to improve on the ball dramatically when you're already 23 years old. Technical ability on the ball comes from ages 6 to 12 or younger, 4 to 12, 4 to 8, not when you're 23, 24. So for me, that's a nonsense take. He might learn a little bit tactically about playing in possession, but I don't think he should stay at Leeds. I don't think that the level is high enough to push him. I don't think the level is such that he's going to be challenged in any meaningful way. I also think the 2 games a week schedule of the championship is going to be difficult for him in terms of just his physicality and staying injury free. So I hope it gets resolved soon, and I hope it is Bournemouth. And I hope Bournemouth has actual proof that they triggered his clause, because if they didn't submit an official bid, then what are you going to do? Leeds haven't won a league game yet. Yeah, Leeds lost their opening game. They lost their opening game 1-0. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with Tyler, but I'm disheartened by the events surrounding Balogun, Dest, and Adams, because I just want these transfer sagas to be over, because it's hurting our players. They need to be playing, and they're not. And we have a camp coming up soon. What is going on with Justin Che, guys? What's going on with Justin Che? Justin Che leaves Hoffenheim this summer, or leaves Bayern. He is on loan to Hoffenheim. He could have gone back to FC Dallas. He decided instead to go to to Brøndby in the Danish league, which I had mixed feelings about. On the one hand, I thought, I don't love the Danish league for him because I don't think it's superior to MLS. I'd rather he go to MLS at that point. Like, if you're going to be in the Danish league, then you might as well just be in MLS. But on the other hand, I thought, well, the fact that he's pushing himself and going to the Danish league, to the Danish Superliga, new country, new language, the pressure, the environment, the adaptation, all of those things make me believe in his mentality. They make me believe that mentally he's got what it takes, because he didn't want to take the easy, comfortable road of coming back to MLS. So I had mixed feelings. But then we find out today that he's being loaned from Brøndby in the Danish league to the Dutch second division, which is not even a professional division. They are literally have young PSV. They have like the reserve teams of Eredivisie clubs playing in the second division. So what's better, I ask you, for his development? Playing at FC Dallas, where he will play week in and week out, or playing in the Dutch second division? I think Dallas would have been better for his development. And so I don't know what on earth he's doing. And I'll be honest, sometimes I question the mentality of some of our boys. Like, I would love to sit down with them and their agent and go, what is the reasoning for this decision? Like, why are you taking a step down? You know, why are you... Maybe you went to Brøndby and you got there and Brøndby was like, oh, this guy's not ready for the Danish league, so let's send him on loan to the Dutch second division. But yet you were able to play at FC Dallas. And as somebody who criticizes MLS pretty frequently and consistently, I can tell you as a fact that FC Dallas, MLS is a better league than the Dutch second division, for sure. And it's also a better league than the Danish league. So that's where I'm at with this move. I don't love this, and I don't know what's going on with him. Maybe he absolutely crushes it. 6 months in, he goes back to Brøndby and then plays there. He's 19. We'll see. I'm just like, okay, you shouldn't even be in contention for the Olympics if you're playing at an amateur level, right? Romeo says maybe he needs to work on his technical abilities, and Holland is a better place to do that. I mean, we all saw him at the Under-20 World Cup. Like, Under-20 World Cup, he was fine. He had no issue playing at a good level at the Under-20 World Cup. So I don't see major deficiencies with him that he can't go and play regularly, certainly in the Danish league. I don't know, guys. I mean, it is what it is. He's 19. He's a center back. Maybe it'll work out for him in the long term. I really don't understand this move, though. I really don't. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. Congrats on the decision to stop vaping, Pete. Not going to be easy, but you'll be thankful you'll quit. Yeah, it's been almost 2 weeks now. And I'll tell you what, these withdrawals are not fun. Not fun. Disagree, Pete, says Chambers WI. I thought he was way too reliant on athleticism at the Under-20 World Cup. I don't know, man. He was very, very good with his passing range. So I'm not sure I agree with you there. And as somebody who not only watched the games, but who clipped them later for Patreon, I saw a lot of good things from him. And the Under-20 World Cup level is a better level than the Dutch second division. I'll tell you that right now. All right. So now that Andonovski is gone, and here I'll talk about my rage yesterday. My nicotine withdrawal fueled rage. I immediately thought, oh my God, Andonovski might join the USMNT staff. And so I put this tweet out, which you can't see the full thing right now because that thing is blocking it. So let me pull that out of the way. Imagine looking to the USMNT bench during the September friendlies and seeing the following: Greg Berhalter, Jason Kreis, Vlatko Andonovski. Andonovski already went to Qatar with the team. Jason Kreis was a Gold Cup assistant to BJ Callahan. It is not far-fetched at all, considering U.S. soccer's love for the mediocre. And I don't know if this is going to happen. By all reports, there's interest in the NWSL for Vlatko. And maybe he'll go back there. But we all know how U.S. soccer works. We all know how much they love cronyism. The fact that Jason Kreis still has a job despite 5 or 6 failures in a row should tell us everything we need to know about U.S. soccer. In fact, you have a higher chance of success if you fail. You have a higher chance of getting promoted or getting additional jobs with MLS than if you fail. Let me explain. Do you remember Tab Ramos? 3 quarterfinals in a row with the U20s. 3 quarterfinals in a row. By all metrics, with the player pools that he had, that was a success. That was a success. What happened to him? Did he get a job in U.S. soccer? Nope. Had to go take a terrible Houston team. But Jason Kreis fails to qualify for the Olympics after failing at both Orlando and New York, and he still gets more jobs. How about an assistant job over at Miami? Oh shit, you failed at that too? Well, gee whiz, Jason, that's 4 failures in a row. Why don't you become a Gold Cup assistant, help coach the best players in the country and the most important team in the country? And what happened during the Gold Cup? Oh shit, you failed on that one too? Maybe Greg Berhalter needs an assistant. Vlatko was already there in Qatar learning the system. And by the way that the women played this summer reminded me very much of Berhalter ball. Very much on Berhalter ball. It reminded me of like slow, ponderous, over-reliance on crosses, anemic attack. That's what it reminded me of. Now, I'm not saying that's Berhalter's fault. I'm not saying it's Berhalter's fault. I'm just saying it's odd that both Berhalter and Andonovski had very similar styles of play at their respective World Cups. We'll see what happens to Vlatko now. We'll see what happens to Vlatko now. But don't be surprised if Vlatko gets a job with the USMNT to replace Anthony Hudson. Remember, they got to replace Anthony Hudson. Hudson is gone. Callahan is still there. Callahan was not great at the Gold Cup either, but I'll give him credit for Nations League, right? I'm just saying, this is not far-fetched. This is not a far-fetched possibility. And if it happens, you heard it here first. Speaking of things to get depressed about, Giovanni Reyna is still injured. So this is not a huge deal. It's something we already knew, but it sparked something that I want to talk about. You know, he got this calf injury against Canada in the Nations League final in the last week of June, right? Last week of June. So he's still injured. He's still not able to play for Dortmund. Now, in the past, I pushed back against claims that he was injury prone because he had one injury that was taking a while to come back from, and he kept re-injuring it. And that can happen. You can have one injury that takes a while to come back from. Some injuries are tricky, and then, eventually you come back for it. However, now this is a completely separate injury. This is a calf injury that's also seems to be taking way too long to come back from without a clear return date, which does make me wonder, is it officially time to say he's injury prone? Now, on the one hand, to support that claim, look at his dad. His dad, another very talented player, injured way too often to really have a meaningful impact on his generation. So that's something to worry about. He's got those genetics, obviously. On the other hand, Dortmund are an injury-prone team, right? There's something in the water or something to do with the staff at Dortmund, because the amount of muscle injuries that they have and the fact that they always have 8 to 10 guys injured at Dortmund makes me wonder what's going on over there. What are they doing with their players? Because it's a significant difference compared to the rest of the teams in the Bundesliga. So I don't know if some of his injury problems have anything to do with Dortmund, if any of them are genetic perchance, but we'll see. We'll see what happens with Gio. But I do think it's probably time to say that, he's probably injury prone. And it's not the end of the world. I mean, it sucks. When he's healthy, he should still play for us because he's one of our top 3 most talented players. And I know there are people, including people in the chat here, who will use this as an opportunity, who don't like Gio, and who use him as will use this as an opportunity to say he shouldn't play for us. I disagree. When he's fit and healthy, however rare that might be, he should start for us. And you could see that in the Nations League, for example, right? You could see in the Nations League final that he was the best player on the field, bar none. Bar none. And that was very clear. So, yeah, when he's fit, when he's healthy, he should play. But you know who's loving this news? Greg Berhalter. Greg Berhalter doesn't have to bring him into September camp because he's still injured. Whew. Dodged that bullet. Doesn't have to man up and apologize and swallow his pride and suppress his ego, right? But it is worrying for USMNT fans that the most talented player we've ever produced does seem early on to be quite injury prone already. Hopefully we're wrong, but it's definitely something kind of depressing to worry about. Chris Johnson says, good to have these streams back. Thank you, Chris. Seth Floyd, what's up, Pete? How you been, man? Also, a staff with Triple G, Vlatko, and Christ would cause me to spontaneously combust. Oh, no. I hope it doesn't happen. And maybe I'm just projecting. Right? Because of all the nonsense that we've seen from U.S. soccer in the past, it's easy to assume the worst about them because they consistently tell us who they are and who they want to be. So when you project decisions that they could potentially make, you always project the most incompetent one, the one that makes the least sense. right? That's what we've learned about U.S. soccer. They have taught us over time. It's like when people tell you who they are, believe them. Believe them. But hopefully not. We'll see what happens. Hopefully he goes to NWSL. To be honest, I don't think it's going to make a dramatic difference. I think that Greg is in charge and Greg is going to do things his way. And I guess we'll find out what that looks like in September, right? When Reyna is healthy, 100% starting. But I think we should look for someone who can take his place who isn't so injury prone. I mean, we have guys who can take his place, right? Luka can play the 10. McKennie and Musa can play the double eights, although I don't think that's a great option. Luka can play the 10. Tillman is certainly somebody to look at going forward. Pulisic can play the 10 when he's not there. Brendan can play the 10, but none of those guys, bar Pulisic, are really Reyna's level of creativity. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you. We should definitely look for somebody, but when you look around, nobody has his level of talent. Not even close. The only one that could play the 10 well enough to, be like Gio would be Pulisic. Right? Okay. Also, Greg will not need to swallow anything with the BJ man on his staff. John Kavulich. Reyna has grown 6 inches in the last 3 years. He needs to be stretching like crazy. He's being smart and taking it slow this time. I mean, I hope so. I hope so, John. We don't really know what's going on. And this is very reminiscent of his last injury because the lack of updates was so worrying. It was not like he'll be back by this date and then he gets to that date and then he's there. It's like he's not healthy yet. ... When will he come back? I don't know. It's complicated. Through 2 weeks later. He's back. Oh, okay, cool. He's on the bench now. And then he's on the bench. And then he's on the bench the next week. He felt some tightness on Wednesday, and so we thought for precautionary, it was better not to have him. So that felt like a lot of what was happening with Gio for a long time. I hope you're right, John. I hope this is just a growth spurt that he needs to get over, but it is worrying. And as a massive Giovanni Reyna fan, probably the biggest Gio Reyna fan in the fan base, to be honest. I've been standing this kid since he was 16, 17 years old. Even I am becoming disillusioned with the amount of injuries that he's been having. Let's see what happens. Adam Nosowitz with a good point too. Athletes with greater growth spurts are always injury prone for a few years. Let's hope to God that's the case. Let's hope to God that's all this is. Because if this continues his entire career, we're screwed. Screwed! All right. Will this next roster, in your opinion, be MLS heavy? Del Morba, I will do a roster prediction video early next week. So you'll find out. 11 Gio Reyna simps. That might be a fairly accurate way to describe my channel. All right. Aaron Long for 2026. How you doing, Aaron? How does it feel to be out of the League's Cup? Jesus Ferreira will go to Cadiz. Then everybody will rate him. False. False. It depends what he does at Cadiz. Aaron Long for 2026. If he goes to Cadiz and plays and scores goals and plays well, then everybody will rate him. If he goes to Cadiz and sits on the bench or isn't even in the roster in the few minutes that he does play, he looks like shit. Nobody's opinion will be changed about Jesus Ferreira. And in fact, everybody's opinions about him will be justified. Because every time someone says he's not good enough to be on the national team, out come the mediocrity simps, yourself included, crawling out of their little holes.
People just don't like him because he plays in MLS. Because they don't like MLS. And they blah.
False. No. People don't like him because he doesn't play well for the national team. Remember when Pepe was playing in MLS and playing well for the national team? Nobody had an issue with calling him up. Nobody. So it's almost like, and I know this is a radical idea, but it's almost like if you play well for the national team, people will want you to keep playing for the national team. And if you play like shit for the national team, people are not going to want you to play for the national team anymore. Okay. So these accusations of, just the Euro snot. No, we want good players playing for the national team. And yes, the vast majority of good players play in Europe. All right. And the ones who can't make it in Europe, the shit ones, they end up coming back to MLS. But they're just, most of them, if not all of them, are just not national team material. Okay. But I hope he goes to Cadiz. I do. I hope he goes to Cadiz because A, he'll be doing what we want him to do. He's just pushing himself. It'll be less likely that he'll get call-ups. He won't get those charity call-ups. If you're playing in Europe, you don't get the charity call-ups, right? You don't get the January camp and the Gold Cup and the, cash grab friendlies with Mexico in the middle of nowhere. You stop getting those call-ups when you go to Europe because you're no longer an MLS simp, right? So you'll have to earn it in camp where you're competing with the Ricardo Pepis and the Folarin Baloguns and the Josh Sargents and the Haji Wrights of the world. That's who he's going to be competing with if he goes to Europe because he's going to be called in the same camps as them. And you and I both know, despite your intense MLS bias, AL, that he can't compete with at least 3 of those guys. Jonathan Miller says, Matt Miazga, cough, cough. Exactly. Seth Floyd, Shaq Moore, cough, cough. All right. Let's see. Jose Lopez, how many minutes do you think LDLT averages this season? I think he'll average about 60 minutes per game because I think he'll start some games and then I think he'll come off the bench in some games. I think DLT has found his level, which is rotational starter for a mid-table La Liga club. I think that's DLT's level and thus a good depth piece for us. DeAndre Yedlin. Yeah, exactly. DeAndre Yedlin. Who else? Shaq Moore. Even James Sands. Right? James Sands couldn't hack it in Scotland. Came back to MLS. Christian Ramirez. Probably Zach Steffen soon. Shaq Moore. DeAndre Yedlin. Matt Miazga. Probably if a Matthew Hoppe. Guys like that. Not quite good enough for Europe. Come back. Have a career in a nice entertainment league. Rodon never went to Europe, but yeah. Yeah, Chris Mueller. Another good example. Another one. Chris Mueller. All right, guys. Zardes never went to Europe, Seth. Nobody in their right mind would ever take Zardes to Europe. Scotland, Ramirez had one good season in Scotland, but one good season is not enough. You need to be consistent. Maybe Ethan Horvath in a couple. Yeah, they're Gio, another good example there, Walter. Yeah. Caden Clark. Yes, true. Also, George Bello and Sam Vines, to be fair, should be back soon as well. Maybe Busio. Aaron Johansson. I don't think he ever came back. But yeah, my throat is still a little raw, guys, so I am going to, cut this off soon. I'm still recovering from laryngitis. But this is maybe not the most positive stream, as you've noticed. Hopefully these moves go through. Balogun, Dest, and Adams are the 3 that just need to happen. We've had a lot of really good summer transfers. Musa and Pulisic to Milan, Weah to Juve, Turner to Forest. By the way, tomorrow Forest plays, I think, Sheffield United. Trusty to Sheffield. We'll see how much time he gets, but looks positive there. There's been some interesting moves this summer. Some good ones, actually. We just have to see what happens with the rest of them. Right? We just have to see what happens with the rest of them. You think we will win the World Cup in my lifetime? I'm 19. Ooh, in your lifetime? Yes. In your lifetime, yes. I don't see why not. Thoughts on Coliolo, the duo Nat who plays for Burnley? He looked good in their Prem game versus City, in my opinion. Yes, he did. Yeah, he did look good. I don't think he is going to represent us. I mean, he is provisionally cap tied to Italy. I can't see him leaving Italy anytime soon. Now, if Italy stops calling him up, which if he's playing around the Premier League, I can't see them doing that. Right? So I don't think so. I mean, kick the tires. I still think we should be trying to recruit him, invite him to camp, see if he's even interested. But if I had to put money on it, I would say this is not one that we're going to win. Just one man's opinion. But we'll see. We'll see. I might be working tomorrow. If I am working tomorrow, then I am not going to do the stream for Forest Sheffield. If I'm not working tomorrow, I will do the stream for Nottingham Forest versus Sheffield United. So if not, I will see you guys on the weekend. We'll do some kind of a stream this weekend for sure. Some kind of live watch along. We'll find a good game. Maybe Milan on Monday. Maybe something else. We'll see. We'll see. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging. Thanks, everybody, for all the super chats. We are back now. Thank you for your understanding and patience while we tried to figure out the whole YouTube situation. And yeah, I appreciate it. And it's been a rough couple of weeks. Please help me to, please help keep me accountable as I try to get over this nicotine withdrawal. I can tell you guys, if you're thinking of smoking, don't start, because stopping is hard as shit. It really is. But we'll be strong. We'll get through it. Have a great one, guys. And I'll talk to you soon. You guys are good at analysis, but it would be great if you learn how to pronounce the EPL clubs. Geoff Sunning. I know you're British. Only a Brit could have that level of arrogance. Who is mispronouncing EPL clubs? Which EPL clubs, Geoff, have I mispronounced? Tottenham? Arsenal? Nottingham Forest? Burnley? Sheffield United? Name one EPL club that I have mispronounced, and I will offer you my humble apologies. But in the meantime, chill. Chill, Geoff. Bloody Yanks don't know how to pronounce the English names. Most of the world can't understand how I speak neither, but I want to get on their case about it. That's what, innit? All right. Americans don't learn to pronounce their own words. Why learn to properly say English words? Probably Norwich in the past, but that's not an EPL club. He specifically mentioned EPL clubs. Let me know. Let me know, Geoff, which one I've mispronounced. Talk in a minute. Oh, yeah, smash the like button before you go. But you don't have to. I don't have to thank a sponsor this time around. I don't have to thank a sponsor. All right. Geoff is cowering. He's not here to tell us which club we have mispronounced. So we'll just have to take his word for it. Probably too busy at the dentist right now to type. So later, Geoff. See you guys soon.